On today's show, let's talk about Dirk Nowitzki making the Hall of Fame. This is the number one thing we should all be talking about right now. Dirk Nowitzki. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. April Fools.
What? I thought we are talking about Dirk today.
We're not talking about Dirk. We're not bringing out the Dallas Mavericks great distraction of 2023 in Dirk Nowitzki. Joining me, Isaac Harris. What you got for me? I'm just sad. I'm just sad right now.
14-time NBA All-Star. 2006-07 MVP champion. In 2011, he is now Naismith Hall of Famer Dirk Nowitzki.
The way that they can sneak in Dirk stuff like right in the middle of when bad things happen, it's just like
It's a nice penetrating thrust to the middle of the floor.
You pulled that drop. That's an all-timer for Hart.
If you're listening for the first time, we are a 5-day a week and every post-game Dallas Mavericks basketball podcast. We're usually very polished. We're usually very planned. This is not going to be one of those episodes because
It's the weekend, Nick.
It's the weekend and it's so bad. We're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks loss to the Heat, and let's just start here. The Mavericks
Let's shoot down to if you're not in tune with our Dirk joke, there is a portion of fans out there who think that the Mavericks try to tout out the Dirk Nowitzki stuff anytime things get bad for the Mavs. And I'm not saying that is 100% incorrect all the time. But guys, come on. It's almost a disrespect to Dirk and his legacy. And it is we joke about it because I joked about it today of the Hall of Fame class 2023 was officially, they let those, not that there was a question, announced
first ballot,
that.
baby.
Yeah. And, Dirk was part of that. Obviously the Mavs were announcing it today. And I was joking. I was like, Mavs are 3 games under 500 and look at them announcing Dirk today. It's a Hall of Famer. But in all honesty though, this is a day that we all knew was coming and we are all super excited about that. Dirk going into the Hall of Fame. This is, unbelievable. Best player in franchise history. It's not a cover up for all the bad things. It's a disaster of a season for the Mavericks right now. Everybody knows this. But it is something to at least recognize. And it deserves to get its praise.
That's where the joke comes from. So we made it at the top. We will. Isaac and I will probably go to the Hall of Fame ceremony. We'll probably have some Dirk Nowitzki episodes.
Just breaking that news now.
Well, just saying that we will it will have its time. Today is not that time, and so we made the joke. All right. Mavs lose 129 to 122. They shoot 61% from the field and lose, Isaac. How?
Well, there's the other end of the floor. It's called defense.
It's a nice penetrating thrust.
Hey, they got thrusted on all night. I mean, they got ran through. I can't take this analogy any further, but
my man has a full-time pastor job. Can I continue it?
And they're not married, so man, it's.
Why are you looking up stats? Are you looking up stats right now to try and talk about how bad it is or try and make sense of it? Because there's no way to make sense of it. Someone tweeted me in the middle of the game is like, what's going on? Spin this so it can be somehow positive for the Mavericks. And I just said, nothing of this game is surprising, right? Everything we just saw in this Mavericks loss to the Heat is not surprising, is not new, is not something that we haven't seen before. Because we know this Mavericks team is awful on defense, which, by the way, they're not even the bottom 5 worst defense since this losing streak has kind of happened for the Mavericks. It's like February 11th. They're only like 24th or 25th. There's like a bunch of teams that are worse than them, but they're all who you would think they would be. But this Mavericks defense is bad. It's awful. They can't stop anybody. It wasn't even like points in the paint. The Heat only scored 40 points in the paint, but you have to think about it in context. This Heat team scores 108 points a game. They have an offensive rating of 112.7. They finished this game much higher than that in this game. That 132. Like this Mavericks team, if you need a get right game on offense, and the Heat did, I was texting the Locked On Heat guys in the middle of this. I was like, hey, if you need a get right game on offense, you play the Dallas Mavericks, because nothing they're doing on defense is doing anything right now. Like their scheme, the personnel, nothing is working in unison right now with this Mavs defense. And that's the reason they lost this game. Like you can point to, I've seen a lot of people, why didn't Jaden Hardy play more? Why didn't Wood why didn't Kyrie get the ball late? It was the Luka show. Who cares? They couldn't stop anybody, and they couldn't sustain any runs this entire game.
Yeah, I mean, offense was not the problem this game. I mean, I don't know how else to say
They shot 61, 41, and 92. Like,
yeah, you can't ask for a better shooting game. You put up 122 total points, and offense is not the problem. Like, I'm not walking out of this game saying, man, why didn't defensive stopper Jaden Hardy, play in this game, or Christian Wood? They didn't need help on the offensive end. Defense sucked all the way around. A lot of it's effort stuff. And I thought one of the most telling parts of the entire game was the very end of the game. They're down by, I think, 6, and they didn't even foul. Like, for me, I'm like, is that it? Was that when you made the decision right now to just say deuces on the rest of the season?
They're down 6. They don't foul. And then at 14 seconds left, Jason Kidd calls a timeout. And you're like, what? What is the point of that? You might as well have called the timeout when you didn't have the ball before, just to save the time, to drop a foul. Like that, I think that this team is done. And I think we've talked about this for a while. Even if they make the play in, and they still have a path to make the play in, like we'll still cover this team if they do. I just think that this team collectively, I have written behind me, and I also, in the intro, if you don't believe, you shouldn't be here. 1, 2, 3 Cancun. I don't think they're here, like, mentally. And I think that we know Tim Hardaway is going to show up every Miami game, but other than that, like,
Tim was trying to close the Tankathon browsers for everybody tonight.
But other than that, like, I just don't think anybody, and Luka's going to put up his numbers, and Luka's going to fight. But other than that, like, this team is not connected at all.
No, it's not. I mean, here's the thing. If they make it into the play-in, which, what a dark path we are on now. If they make it into the play-in, I'm still not ever counting a team out that has Luka on it, let alone Luka and Kyrie. So if they make it into the play-in,
counted out of what? Of a play-in or of the playoffs?
No, I'm saying if they make it to the play-in, like, I'm not sitting there saying they're done. They're not even winning a game in the play-in. I'm not going to sit there and say that, because they still have Luka. They still have Kyrie. But right now, at this very moment, like, they have a game tonight. If you're listening to this on a Sunday, they have a game this evening, at 6 Eastern time in Atlanta. Luka rolled his ankle in this game. They played horrible defense again. They look kind of checked out. And it's just like, if they said, before we even publish this podcast that Luka and Kyrie's out tomorrow, then it's like, all right, it's a wrap. Like, let's, finish out these last 4 games and play the odds with the 10th pick. Here's a telling sign for where I'm at too. I was on the Corner 3, which is the weekly show that I do in Mavs.com for 97.1 The Freak with Bobby and Kat. And, I can be a little bit more unfiltered, on stuff on this podcast compared to that show. I was on that show yesterday saying this season was a complete disaster. Like, this whole thing, because there's just no other way to put it. Like, there's no other way to spin it.
Even if you're getting paid by the team, you can't even.
And even Bobby and Kat were on there saying, hey, like they're agreeing. It's like, yeah, this is not what we all expect. Like there's no way of sugarcoating it, no matter how. I mean, when the season's done, we'll do the eulogy for this team this season. We'll try to pull out some of the positives, like some of that early Luka run, how hard he finished the end of the season. But there's not a ton. And it's just like, this is just where you're at. Like this is where they're at right now. So I feel like you almost got to decide right now. I mean, a lot of you listening, probably said, hey, they should have decided, earlier, a few weeks ago, if they were going to just wrap up shop and close it down. But I feel like you got to decide right now. Like right now, either you continue going all for it these last 4 games, you play Luka and Kyrie in Atlanta, or you just shut it down now and say, we got 4 games left. Like this is second game back-to-back. Luka's injured now, you're injured again. And you just, close the mall shop door. You're just the Foot Locker gate. You just kind of shut it down and say, all right.
It's not like mathematically they can. So here, let's talk about 2 things. Mathematically, they can still make the play-in, right?
Yeah.
The Mavericks and OKC, they have to finish with a better record than the Thunder.
Remind us what OKC's remaining schedule is.
Yeah, because the Mavericks are right now. The Mavericks don't have the tiebreaker with OKC, so they have to finish with a better record than them. OKC over the last 4, so the Mavericks over the last 4 games. Let's do the Mavs one first. Mavericks over the last 4 games of the season, play the Hawks, which is tonight or Sunday if you're listening to this, at the Hawks. Then they have 2 days off, home against Sacramento. Sacramento's playing really well right now. That one's tough. The Friday, April 7th, home against Chicago. That is like a wild tanking, draft lottery implications game. So we'll see what happens.
As Nick said a few pods ago, the Mavericks have to basically, if you're going the other direction to get the top 10 pick, they basically got to beat out, finish with a worse record than Utah or the Bulls.
Yeah.
To have the 80% chance of keeping the pick. Yeah. So that Chicago game is weirdly a big game.
Chicago game is big. And then home versus San Antonio for the last game of the season. So like that one is weird, but they should win it, I guess.
I got to make sure I'm at that game.
I don't know if it's a home game, so I don't know if you
want to. I want to know who's playing in that game.
And then you look at the Thunder and you're like, okay, well the Mavericks have to do this, and this with their schedule. But the Thunder play home against the Suns on Sunday. They play at Golden State, which is not a great place to play. No. Golden State is a different team at home. Then at Utah. Utah's still at Utah. Then
Utah's closing up shop.
Then home against Memphis.
Okay.
So here's mathematically the Mavericks still could make the play, and this is what would have to happen. The Dallas Mavericks could go 4-0 in their last 4 games, and OKC would have to go 2-2 or worse in their game. So even if the Mavericks win out, they still need OKC to lose at least 2 of these games. Like they do not control their own destiny in this,
which is very possible because of the team, and SGA has been missing some games here and there.
It is possible. If the Mavericks go 3-1, OKC has to go at least 1-3 or worse. If the Mavericks go 2-2, OKC has to lose out of all their games. So if OKC doesn't lose 2 of these games, or at least 2 of these games, the Mavericks can't
and the Mavs make the play. The Mavs had some luck go their way. 2 nights ago when Rick Carlisle and the Pacers beat OKC, which is kind of surprising because they've been
with SGA playing. But so that's mathematically, that's the one thing. So mathematically, it's still possible for them. Theoretically, this Mavs team and who they are and how they've been playing and how they look at each other, and seeing guys like Maxey and Reggie and Josh Green hesitate on shots, that's a sign to me that this team just doesn't believe in themselves, doesn't believe in each other, doesn't believe in the players on the team, in themselves on the team, and I just can't get that thought out of my head. That thought is
it's a nice penetrating thrust to the middle of the
I just can't get that thought out of my head. And just watching this team and seeing how they don't believe in themselves. And we've talked about all the issues and the problems that this team has faced and all that. And just collectively, I think, the coach hasn't believed that this team can win in a month at this point. And and they haven't changed anything on defense. They don't believe in their rotations. They don't think anything else is going to change. I don't know. We saw Cody Zeller go off in this game.
My Lord.
Cody Zeller, 20 points in this game.
Second leading scorer.
They didn't even try JaVale. They're like, we don't care. Like we're not even going to try it. We're not even going to try to change our defense. We're not even going to try something different. Like, I'm at the point of frustration with this team where I'm like, at least JaVale is tall. At least JaVale is tall with long arms. Can we just throw him out there? I'm at that point of frustration with this team. And I don't think they believe. And like, I'm not going to stick my neck out. There's going to be some people I know on Locked On that are like, well, would you pick the Mavericks? I'm going to go on like, they're going to make the play in or something. I'll be on Locked On Sports today and they'll be like, who's your pick to win this game? And I'll be like, I don't think it's the Mavericks because I just don't believe in this team anymore.
Yeah. I'm trying to search for like the next thing to talk about right now. Because I mean, we could talk more about the game. And, they really went for it because
I got one more.
4 minutes.
I got one more thing.
Can we at least say in a positive thing? Luka's game tonight was incredible. I mean, his efficiency tonight, 17 of 25 tonight, 42 points. I mean, no one's going to care about it because they lost again. And everything's about the defense and everything what we've been talking about for the past 15, 16 minutes. But I mean, 42, 10, and 8, shooting 68% from the field. I mean, we didn't even lead with it because, yeah.
The wildest thing about this season is Luka is going down swinging. It's not like Luka's given up, right? Like, it's not like Luka
and he got hurt.
It's not like Luka is the one giving up on this season and just like, but now maybe he's given up a little bit more on defense, and his defense has not been good, and it was not good in this game either. But he's going down swinging. Like, he's had some really good games. He's had some 40-point games here of late, and he's going down swinging. The last thing, though, one more thing.
Next time, don't wait till it's 3 seconds left to talk.
Tim Hardaway Jr., like, we know when he's gonna have a good game. Okay, his dad's in attendance. They're playing the Heat. They're playing in Detroit. Can we bottle this? Is there a way to bottle this, Tim Hardaway Jr.? Because like, it's almost as if we can predict when Tim Hardaway is going to have these games. Why is it so like scheduled and regimented that it actually happens? Can we bottle this somehow with Tim Hardaway? It's so weird to me.
I just feel like if I'm Miami or Detroit, like I'm offering up a first round pick. Like
and I'm hiring his dad to not be on a broadcast, but to sit in the audience somewhere, just to come to every game and sit in the audience.
Yeah, Tim is going to play for the Heat at some point in his career. There's too many Miami ties,
and he'll win six man of the year when he does.
Shout out to Luka getting out in Miami and going to the Miami Tennis Open, and all that. Enjoying himself.
I need a recovery beer.
Shout out to the Mavs having multiple days off in Miami and still coming and shooting 61% from the field.
I know. I was honest. I've been making some jokes the past few days. I'm like, 2 days off right before game in Miami. Tough luck for the Mavs here. But I mean, on offense, they played really, really well. But whenever you give up, Miami's season average basically in 3 quarters. They got close to it in 3 quarters, I think.
And you give up 10 offensive rebounds. That's brutal. 10-1 offensive rebounds is like, if Dwight Powell's the starting center of this, this will be a whole episode in the offseason that I'm sure we'll.
There's no way.
If Dwight Powell's the starting center of the Dallas Mavericks to start the season, someone needs to get fired.
There's no way that happens, right?
We said that last year.
I know, but. Well, they tried with JaVale.
You and I have said that on this podcast. They tried twice, actually. They tried with Wood and they tried with JaVale.
I think I'd bring Salah back.
I'd bring Boban back.
Dallenberg.
Oh my gosh, what's Brandon Haywood doing?
Job. Dampier.
Oh my gosh, Tyson Chandler would be better right now.
Honestly, we could have a conversation about it.
Tyson, are you still in shape? He's been around the team.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow after the Hawks loss.
Yeah, no, I got nothing else. Guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us, making us part of your day, and being part of the show. We'll be back after the Hawks game with a full episode that's all put together and not so much us yelling at each other. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.